Hi, this is Liz. Welcome to our live session, Tuesday the 10th, 10 o'clock, just about lunchtime. Um, Thank you for joining me today, and I'm super excited to do this session. It's been a while since we've done some live sessions, so welcome and bear with me. Hopefully I can wrap this up in an hour, but let's go ahead and let's talk about what we're doing today. And today is all about an inlay design. So we're going to keep it to painting and an inlay design. And basically, what is an inlay design? An inlay design for us is what we call an inlay is blasting a design inside another blasted area. So as you can see, the cream area has been blasted, painted, and then I have another design that's another mask that was placed over this, blasted, and then we did a 3-color paint. So creating a nice look. It wasn't that hard to do, but as I always say, painting requires a little bit of love and some time. So we can wrap this up here in this session, but doing this inlay design, it's a great idea. It doesn't have to be for Christmas. I chose a Christmas design because we're upon the Christmas season. But let's look at something that I did a little bit different for, let's say, baby showers or gender reveals. This is a baby. You have the diaper. It's a boy. It's a boy with a dot pattern. Was blasted over the diaper, and you can see we kind of peeled the. I peeled the feet and the thighs. I don't know if you can tell, but I kind of used my nozzle to create a little bit of a dimple in the heel and the toes, just to kind of giving that foot a little bit of shape. So it's not just such a flat etch, but a little bit of shape to the feet, and then having this design here. Now, this one was a work in progress. You're going to see this, the second one where I made some changes. But these are great. You can actually even do like stats of the baby, like how much the baby weighed, when was he born, or, you know, baby Johnson. There's a lot of things that you can do with that, but it's just kind of giving it a different look than just a simple congratulations with a 1-color paint. But let's talk about what you need to get started with an inlay design. You need to have your artwork. So your artwork is so important in this because you have to separate your artwork. Here I have my background, and then I have my inlay. So these are the 2 stencils that I have. What's important here is that I'm using SR2000 with brush on or spray on glue. That is so important for this inlay design. You have to use the glue. I don't want you to use SR3000, which that's my go-to. Self stick is always my go-to film. I love self stick, but in this case, it has to be SR2000 with a brush on adhesive. Here I'm using a 4 mil. Now you can use a 4 or 5. I do not recommend 3 mil at all for an inlay design. You need that stencil to have some resistance because we're blasting through a coating here. And that coating, you need to have that stencil a little bit thick to where it holds and you have sand resistance when you're blasting. A self stick film is moisture sensitive. It's if the environment, if it's humid in the air, that stencil becomes really sticky. So if it's dry, you can always remoisten self stick, SR3000, and you get that tack back. What happens with self stick, if I were to put my stencil on being self stick, add paint, that paint creates moisture and it kind of bonds to my background of my background here. So that's what I don't want. Um, you want to have SR2000 with brush on or spray on adhesive. Now let's look at the artwork that I chose for this design. We're going to pull up the artwork here, and you'll see the original reef, and you'll see my background and the inlay. So there's 2 masks, and I know the guys are going to pull it up here in just a moment. But the reef is the original. You'll see that in red. And on the reef, there are some areas that I had to kind of create a little bit of a stroke, and that's the little vein area. They were too thin, and because we're blasting into glass and I'm blasting through a coating, I needed a stroke on that artwork. So that was where we have the reef. You see that reef, and we just added a little bit of stroke inside some of these little veins in there to kind of thicken that up so it holds up when we're blasting into glass. And again, you'll see the two separate masks. Things that you need. So you have your artwork, you have SR2000. Let's talk about paint. You need your background color. So here's your background color of, here is the cream. I chose a white cream from Montana Gold. And it's Montana Gold series, which means low pressure paint. And that's what you want. You want a low pressure paint. We're only painting a small area. We're not doing a big mural art on a wall. That would require high pressure paint because you have a lot of paint coming out at high speed. We are painting smaller areas, so we want to have control over our paint, and a low pressure paint would be ideal. You need to have your two colors or whatever colors you're going to use. So we're using red and green for Christmas, and I used a gold. And then this is the magic right here. This is what you need to have, varnish. And who knew? You know, I love shopping for shoes. If you know me, you know I love shoes. But what's become equally important for shopping is going to be paint. And so I get on the website and I look at all these different colors. What can I buy? I look at a range of metallics and colors, but I found this varnish, and this is amazing. This varnish allows me to put a coating on the paint. So here I did put a varnish on this, and you can't see it, but it's shiny and it protects my paint, and it allows me to put that mask on, that second mask, blast, and peel it away. So the varnish is the magic. But let me show you what else the varnish does. Okay, it's like kind of like my new kick here. Here I have these little mugs that I did. Grinch, kind of like one of my favorite movies. Okay, and you can see here I painted this with just a regular black paint. Right? So look at the My Day, kind of, you can see that a little bit better. And this one I painted with black paint, but I also put a varnish on it. And you can see it's just a little bit shinier, and it's a little bit deeper and black. So the same black, but this has a varnish over it, a protectant. It's a UV protectant, really, but it just kind of gives it that sheen. And I know that this paint looks really good, and it has that sheen, it's protected. And then let's just touch on this while I'm here on this side. But this is just um, hand painted. So I got kind of carried away. I'm like, you know what? I love the Grinch. I love the color. So I just used some one-shot paints. Not that you're going to paint mugs. Maybe you'll paint bottles or something else. But just to give you an idea of how this works, you leave the mask on. And then I just get some small paint brushes, use my one-shots, and then kind of hand painted on this mug. But you know what? It's better if you're learning how to hand paint, paint on a mug, something that's inexpensive before you start hitting those high dollar wine bottles or spirit bottles. Another thing that I like to use once in a while are paint pens. And these are acrylic paint pens. I get these from artprimo.com. They're really handy. It's like a rattle, so you need, like a rattle can, you need to shake the pen. And then when you open it up, I always like to have some paper towels nearby, and then you can press it to get the paint flowing, and then you could drop in some color when you have small areas, like the little lights here would have been great for color with paint pens to drop in color. Paint pens are ideal for something like that. Once you're done painting, just put that varnish or like a UV protectant, clear coat, something like that, and then your paint pens, that paint will stay in place on your glass or ceramic. All right, let's get in real quick here to metallic paints, gold, silver. I get this question all the time, so I wanted to show this. I get the question of, do I use gold chrome or do I use matte? And this is what it looks like. This is gold chrome, okay, has that sheen to it, and this is gold matte. And then this is actually a copper, which I think it looks like rose gold, but it's a copper. And you can see my can here. You tell me. This is going to be kind of like that dress. Is it blue? Is it green? This right here, it says copper, but I could swear it's rose gold, but it says copper. So you got your chrome is a little bit of a sheen, and your matte is just like a flat gold. So depending on what you're design is, whether will determine whether you need chrome or a matte finish. And then this also comes in silver as well. But my go-to on gold or silver is going to be Montana Gold Series. Again, what is it? Low pressure. Let me ask you a question. How many of you guys have taken my paint class? Raise your hand. All right. I see no hands. So you guys all need to take my painting class. When it comes up, I'm going to do some painting classes at the Glass Art Show and at the Awards and Personalization Show in Vegas. So keep that in mind in the back of your head if you want more painting or hands-on. I offer classes. Let's take a look here. I have this item right here. I blasted it. It's painted, but now it's ready for a varnish. All right. I have this one right here. This is my sparkling cider, yes, with the baby feet and the diaper. This is ready for a varnish. It's already painted, but it's ready for a varnish or a second color on the diaper. And this one right here is all ready to go. It's a girl. We're going to clean this, and I'll show you what this looks like towards the end of the session. But first, let me go ahead and let's start with the bottle here. We're going to prep a bottle. I have my pillow. I have my saran wrap here, my plastic wrap or blast wrap. You can find those on our website. I'm going to take my bottle, and we removed all the labels because I hate seams. And here's my seam right here. So I'm going to try to take my design away from that seam. Maybe stick it right here. All right, so I have my background of my stencil here, and we're going to mount this. Actually, I'm going to use that other stencil right on that corner, right over here. So you can kind of see my box here, line this up. Now, to get that line straight, you can use different tools. Here's my little step. And then I have my paint pen right here. When you're doing alignment, you always want to use a water-based Sharpie and make sure it has a fine tip point. And I believe you can actually get a little finer than this. I'm not quite sure, but you always want a fine tip point. And then I'm just going to kind of mark my stencil or my line here. Just kind of turn it. Going to lay this on the pillow, and the pillow kind of helps me to kind of hold it. If I had it on here, you know, I like it up at an angle, so that's what the pillow is used for. I got this pillow, and then we kind of open it and remove some of the filling just to kind of make it a little more squishy. And you can kind of see that glue, right? You can see that. Hopefully you can see it, but there's some glue there. So this is a glued mask. It's not self-stick. So I'm going to line up my line here. I'm away from the seam. I'm going to take my squeegee, and then I'm going to apply pressure. You know, sometimes, you know, I'll hear people, they have blow-offs, you know, and I get them sometimes, and usually, well, the reason why that happens is because that mask is not on the glass, and I can tell when I'm in a hurry and I don't do all the steps, and I look and I'm like, oh, that mask wants to lift up, but I didn't take the time to squeegee or apply that stencil. So I want you to take a look at how I'm squeegeeing. I'm taking the squeegee and I'm pressing down, and I'm really putting some pressure there to make sure this mask is secure. Okay, some people, they'll just kind of rock back and forth. This is doing nothing. You want to put pressure down to make sure that mask is nice and tight to that bottle. Now I'm going to remove my carrier. So I got my carrier removed. I'm going to take my wire wheel roller, and I'm just going to kind of break up this membrane here. It's a big open design. We're going to blast this membrane away. And you can always use a secondary tool. This is a rubber brayer. Just kind of press that down. So what this does is once you remove any air bubbles from the membrane using the wire wheel, you can take your rubber brayer and then you can just kind of press that down and that mask will go down into place. All right, so now we're ready to take my blast strap. I'm going to pull this down, set my bottle. And why am I using blast wrap? I'm using this wrap because it's easy to protect my cap here, especially if you have a waxed top, you're protecting this. If you have a label in the background, you're protecting that label. So I like to use something that's inexpensive but easy to use. So we just kind of pull this down and then I'll just fold this in place. I'll bring this right over to my table, kind of fold this in, and I have a little area of glass and masking. I'm going to put my tape right here. I'm going to kind of fold this in and again put my saran wrap right there, my blast wrap. I'm going to grab some tape and then we'll get ready to blast this. I'm using vinyl tape. So a lot of times you'll see me in my videos or my articles using painter's tape, which is great, but it's not blast resistant. The vinyl tape or the Sandblast vinyl tape is blast resistant. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this down here. So the vinyl tape is great when you are using, when you're blasting deep. I would say if you're using like a 5 mil and you're going to blast a little deeper, use the vinyl tape. And this blast wrap will also protect my bottle when I'm painting. I won't get any overspray on paint. It'll all go on the blast wrap. And then sometimes if you see that tape kind of lifting up a little bit, you can just take your rubber brayer and just kind of press that down into place. So now let's blast this piece. We're going to go into my cabinet. If you want to wear gloves, you can. My cabinet is gloveless. You have sleeves, but I tend to not wear gloves. I do get a lot of complaints sometimes, so that people are afraid that my fingers are going to blast off. I'm going to blast them off. My fingernails are going to blast away. So for those of you that get concerned about my nails, I'm going to go ahead and wear a glove just for you guys. All right, I know we have some questions, but let me get to that in just 1 second. I'm just going to kind of tell you what pressure I'm blasting at. Since I'm blasting the background away, I'm going to increase my pressure here to around 50 pounds. Okay, now I'm just blasting the background. So we're just going to go high pressure to blast that background away a little faster. All right, so let's look here. How do the paint pins stand up to washing? Great question. Anytime that we paint or hand paint, we're always going to say it is hand wash. So a lot of our customers will mark it as handcrafted. They'll mark it as this is handmade. Take care, it's hand painted. Just like when you think of a china plate that was hand painted, they don't put them in the dishwasher. So that's where they'll say take care. But using a protectant over that, you know people are going to throw them in the dishwasher. That will last longer. It will provide some protection. It's not that the paint, that the water, it can't handle, the paint can't handle the water. It's that a dishwasher gets so hot that it kind of works its way underneath that paint and wants to lift up. So that's where I'm going to always say hand wash when it comes to hand painting, but use a protectant and that will save that paint. It'll go long term versus just with no protectant on it. Okay, so I have, Norway, Burgess, nice, thank you for joining us. Could you please advise which gold color paint can be applied to champagne glass after engraving? Great question. I'm going to say go to the Montana, the gold chrome. I love that for champagne glasses. It's kind of gives it a big pop, and I just love that paint. It's going to stand up. It's going to look rich on champagne glasses. So the Montana's series, the gold series, but use the gold chrome. Jim, great to see you, Jim. Well, I can't see you, but I bet you did raise your hand because you have taken my classes. So, but it's great. Thank you for joining us today. So, going over the basics, yes. And the stair step tool is always great. He's been using stacks of tape rolls, which we did before, and someone made me a little step to use. And Elite Etching also has a carrier for holding bottles and glass as well, to like a little stair stepper for alignment as well. Jaime Martinez from Canada, nice. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so I think we got our questions answered. Let's get to blasting. I'm not going to spend a lot of time blasting, but I want to show you some steps in blasting a nice even engraving here. So I have my 3/32 nozzle, as you can see there, 3/32. I'm holding my nozzle like a pencil. I'm about 50 pounds. And let's just start in on my bottle here. And you can see I'm blasting that glue away. Now I can see lines for, for my strokes of blasting. I'm not worried about that yet. I'm going to even that out. I just want to blast all the glue away first. So all my glue is blasted away. So what's important here is nice, slow strokes. Okay. Look at my distance. And I'm using silicon carbide. I'm actually using a 120 grit here. So the silicon carbide is going to help me blast a little faster. Now I'm going to tell you to blast nice and slow. Sometimes I kind of have a fast hand here. I want to move very fast, but I'm going to tell you just nice and slow. Okay, so you can see I have a little bit of lines. I don't know if you can tell, but I have a little bit of lines on my bottle. So what I do is I start to go kind of back and forth. So I kind of move a little bit. Now you can have your way of doing this. You might have a better method. I have some people that they like to go in circles. I didn't really like the circles too much, but I like to go up and down and kind of work side to side. And you can actually see the sand is just erasing the glass. So it's really important that you have a nice even blast because it will show up when you add the paint. Especially if you're using a darker color, you'll see those lines a little bit, will be a little more pronounced. So now let me go, sometimes I like to do is I like to go to the side a little bit at an angle, and I'll just kind of work it a little bit. Now again, I wouldn't be doing all these different angles if it was just text. I'm just doing these different angles, these different ways because it's a big open negative area. And I think I'm good here. I'm just going to kind of outline the edging a little bit, just so that when I outline the edging, it makes the whole area look a little deeper. All right. And I think that looks pretty good for right now. And I have a little air gun in here. I'm just going to kind of blow off any excess. And what I noticed is if you get any sand up in this little tape area, blow that off, because the other day I was painting and I moved it and some sand came out of my tape and it got onto my painted area. So I just want to make sure that you kind of blow the area up above the bottle. All right, so let's head over to the cabinet or the paint booth. So this is our paint booth here. It's from Pache. We put a charcoal filter there. The charcoal filter helps kind of reduce the fumes. Should always wear a paint mask, but hey, I'm on camera. I'm not going to put a mask on right now. You have the filter material that kind of captures any of the overspray. It kind of captures it on the side. I put a little block in here so I can have a stand, and then we added a light. All right, so that's how we've set up our paint booth. A can of acetone is always necessary here on in our paint booth. We always like to have a can of acetone to clean our caps. So actually, I'm going to set this aside real quick and I'm going to show you something. Let's talk about caps. I get this question quite often. You can see here I have the gold dot skinny. Okay, so if you've taken my classes, you know that this was our go-to many years ago, gold dot skinny. This is our blue dot, and then this is a yellow dot. And there's one more that I like to use once in a while. And let me see here, I think it's this one right here. And it's a cream dot. Okay, so we have yellow. What's the difference? They're all different size holes. They all will spray paint differently at different, you have different amounts of paint that come out. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you right now. I'm going to grab my green paint here. You have to shake the can well. If you don't shake the can well, first of all, when you spray it, you're not going to get any color out. You're going to get more of a clear liquid. And you're just saturating your engraved area with almost like a lacquer. And so you already start off by over painting because you don't even have any color down, but you have this liquid down. So you want to make sure you shake the can really well. And manufacturer says 8 minutes. I don't do 8 minutes. Maybe I'll do like 5, but you know, I'll put it down, I'll shake it. And if you notice, we have a rack here. It keeps our paints organized and it keeps them laying down so it's easier to mix. I had the people over at artprimo.com, they told me to get a rack because if the paint's laying down, it's easier to mix. So you don't have all the chemicals down at the bottom. They're kind of laying down and then you can mix it a little bit faster. All right, so let's test this right now. I'm going to start with a larger dot. I always do a little spray over here in the corner. Okay, for you ladies that have long nails, make sure you don't hold it like this. You have to hold it to the side. So this is a cream dot, and I'm going to try to keep the same distance. Okay, so you kind of see it's more of a narrow spray, but there's a lot of paint that came out with that. Let's try this yellow dot. Now I can already tell, again, a very narrow spray, but look at the difference of how much paint has come out on that as well. There's a lot of paint that came out with these two caps. This is my blue dot. So you have, now I don't know if you can see that, but you have a little bit of a wider spray. So you have a narrow still, but it fans out just a tad. And then now I'm going to show you the gold dot. Can you tell the difference? The gold dot, or the gold skinny dot, was more of a fan spray and not so concentrated as a pinstripe. So you have less paint that came out, but you can see these two had the most paint that came out, and then these last two had the least amount of paint that came out. So the gold dot, the gold skinny dot is going to give you the least amount of paint, but it's going to give you more control. So now I'm going to use my acetone cleaner, and we're just going to clean these caps, and that saves your caps from replacing them so often. And who would have think that you would buy a can of acetone? Would have never thought that, but I buy it all the time, and I buy 2 at a time. So we have our dots here. So we had, this is how we did it. And these two provided the least amount of paint. These provided the most amount of paint. I'm going to tell you, do not use the gold dot skinny when you're doing any chrome, silver, any type of metallic paints. I think that paint is just too thick for it to come out of this small opening. You want to go with the blue dot or even this dot, but this one would be the best one to give you a little more control. But I tend to get a lot of that paint clogging with the gold dot when it comes to the metallic paints. And that's what we talked about over here. These paints right here, clogging. If you use the gold dot skinny, use the blue. I don't know if you can see that, but you want to make sure that you use the blue dot at least when it comes to these metallic paints. Okay. All right. Now let's take a look here. I have Rena. Good to see your name there, Rena. Thank you for joining us. And I have Rick from Cincinnati. Welcome. And Randall. Thank you. I love our studio. I love that we get to kind of work in here and kind of play with different products, hopefully to help you. So let's go ahead and move this off to the side, and we're going to paint our background here. So like I said, I like to use the white. I was shaking this earlier. I'm going to use the blue dot. Always do a tester on the side to make sure you don't have any spitting. Now this one, you want to make sure that you're comfortable painting whatever direction. I tend to always move side to side. Some people will go up and down, and that's fine. But I'm going to go side to side. And if you notice, I'm kind of close. I'm not way out here. I'm kind of close, maybe about, what, 4 or 5 inches. Kind of working that area. I'm going to flip my bottle around. Kind of hold it up to the light. And then now I'm working up and down, providing coverage here. I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to let this dry. So now I'm going to take my bottle that I already painted, and I'm going to add a varnish on it. So my varnish is right over here. You need to shake it as well. And I'm going to use my cream cap here, and I'm just going to put the coating on here. Now, my paint is dry. You want to make sure your paint is dry. Give it, 40 minutes, a hair dryer, or a couple hours, at least an hour before you put on the varnish. Now, again, this is a protectant. If you're just joining us, the varnish is to protect the paint. So I can do my inlay design. And it's really a fantastic product. And I'm going to clean my cap. Get in that habit of cleaning your caps. Your caps will last a lot longer. Okay. All right. So let's get started with our inlay design. I'm going to take off my glove here, and I'm going to throw my inlay design. So this one has been, this is a varnish on it. It's been painted. And then now I'm going to take my design, and we're going to add the inlay. And now it doesn't have to be a Christmas decoration. It can be anything, like I was showing you with the baby diaper, all that. You can do that. There's so many different things. It can be a happy birthday. Just get creative with your artwork. For those of you that are creative, this is going to be really fun for you to do. So I'm just going to kind of line it up in here, and you can do registration marks but make sure you cover them. Just going to move it over just a tad. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to kind of peel this away and put this on our sandblasted area. I'm going to take my squeegee here, just kind of get it down in place. Once I remove that carrier, it'll be easier to lay down. Okay. Put that carrier back over. Mask application is so important to make sure that you really get that mask down. I will use the wire wheel roller on this as well. And you're going to have to take a little bit of time here to kind of make sure that that mask is in place. I'm going to take my wire wheel roller. I may look like I'm aggressive with this, but really I'm just letting the weight of the wheel just roll right over. I'm not applying any pressure. Now let's take our rubber brayer here, and I can see this mask is lifting up a little bit. We're just going to kind of press this down. You know, sometimes it's not just apply that mask, a quick squeegee and go. Sometimes you have to take that time to apply that stencil. And let's see here. I'm going to add a little piece of tape on this side because I can see that that edge is showing a little bit. Just going to use a little painter's tape because I'm not going to blast that edge. I just want to make sure that that sand just doesn't get in there. All right, I'm going to use a little wire wheel right in this area and press this down. All right, so now we're going to blast our second design in here. All right, and I can tell, it looks like I messed that area up just a tad. I must have hit it with something or lifted up, so I'm going to do this again real quick. But look at this, it's almost like it's repositionable when it comes to the varnish. You know, and that's part of being live. Little things happen and you see my mistakes, you see things that happen, and we are going to fix this right now. Now I might have hit it with my nail, I'm not quite sure, but my M came up a little bit. All right. So I got this on here. I'm going to remove that carrier. All right. Okay, now again, I'm going to take this liner back over, and I'm going to use my squeegee again. Take my wire wheel. And the rubber brayer here. Okay, again, I'm going to put a little bit of tape here on the end. I got more of this line showing here of the background, so I'm just going to tape that up. Let's see here. Everything else is covered. So we're good to go. Let's get back in that cabinet. I'm going to lower the pressure this time. I don't want to blast at 50 pounds. I'm going to bring it down to just under 40. So if you have one of our cabinets, this is the way that I lower the pressure. I'm going to step on the pedal. Make sure this is clicked up. Oops. I'm going to start to lower it here. There we go. Counterclockwise. About right there is good. All right. Here we go. So we're going to blast that coating away. So we're working on the names right now. I don't know if you guys can see that. And you do want a little depth. You want this bottle to kind of be like a wow factor. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of hold this down right here. Going to go over the Merry Christmas. All right, so I have my piece here. That looks pretty good. All right, we're going to go ahead and use our air gun here. Pull this out. And then we're going to get ready to paint this. So now we have our varnish here. It's all varnished, so you know how to varnish. We're going to let that dry a little. And then I'm going to use my tape here. Now this is my purple tape, and they use this for painting. It's a delicate. And, you know, we tried frog tape, we tried different tapes, but the purple one is the one I like the most. And what I'll do is I'll pull a piece off, and I'll kind of get that tack off. I'll do it on my clothes or jeans, and I'll kind of press it against article of clothing, and then what I'll do is I will cover an area. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to paint green first. So I'm going to kind of cover my text here just a little bit. I don't want to press down. I'm just going to lightly cover it. There we go. And let me grab my scissors real quick here. Actually, I have a question here. So it says here, Mark, do you put the glue after you have sprayed the water to reveal the design? Great, great question. So once you wash out your stencil, let it dry just a little bit. It doesn't have to dry 100%, and then add the glue. You can brush on a light, even layer, but you want to make sure that you have enough glue on that stencil to hold up for the inlay. Jim, brilliant cleaning the tops with acetone. Uh, yes, so if you have like a cap that keeps clogging, you can actually put a little bowl of acetone and put that cap in there, and hopefully that'll clean it out. Sometimes you have a cap that clogs really bad, and you can put it in a bowl of acetone. And you see the Walmart shirt in the background. Who has a Walmart shirt? Is that my cameraman? All right, here we go. We're going to, I'm going to cut a little piece here for my Merry Christmas. And let's see here. So we're going to kind of cover this. And you can use, what I have been using is actually another stencil over, but I know that that can get a little expensive using stencils, multiple stencils, but a stencil to cover the design for painting. So I kind of just place this tape over my Merry Christmas, lightly as best I can. And I have another little piece right here. But you could find other ways to kind of make this a little bit easier. Again, like I've used a stencil and I've used the liner. I've cut out shapes just to kind of protect my piece from an overspray of paint. And I'm just going to kind of stick that right there. And I'm just going to cover the bell. I don't want it to be too tacky. That's so important. You want to remove some of the tack because you're just using it as a protectant from the overspray of paint. You don't want to use it to like tape down and protect it from sandblasting. Actually, I'll just use this piece right here. Okay, so now I'm just going to use my green. Put that down there. There we go. I'm going to use my green paint. Shake this well. And you can see here, this one kind of clogged a little bit. That happens. You want to make sure that you have extra caps. Okay, they're really inexpensive. You get 10 for $3 with Art Primo. So I'll order several caps, but you want to make sure that you have extra caps on hand. Actually, let's look at the gold skinny for this one. Let's just take a look here for fun. Okay, so we have here. Again, short little sprays. And that looks like enough paint right in there. We're just going to use the hair dryer. Hang on one second. I'm just going to kind of peel this up just a little bit here. That part wants to lift up, but I'm going to make it stay down. Just going to remove these because the reason why I'm removing this is I don't want the heat to bond it to my mask. So I'm just going to remove this real quick and I can reuse these. Okay, so now I'm going to use my hair dryer just to kind of speed up this drying process here. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go with our, let's go ahead and go with our gold. Just going to kind of do our gold here real quick. And I'm just going to kind of lightly cover this. And the red will be my last to do. While the gold is drying, I'll show you the baby bottle. Okay. All right, so that looks good. Now we're just going to do our gold. So let me go bring our gold up. I'm using the chrome. And I always want to make sure my cap is clean. I don't want a little gold with green. I want gold. So I noticed when I sprayed it originally, it just was clear. Means it's not shaken well. So you want to make sure you shake it well. And the gold has great coverage. That's all the gold I need. That's it. All right, so let's look at, while that's drying, let's take a look at this bottle right here. So you can see, and we'll pull up this artwork for the bottle for the baby. You'll see how I separated this. It has the baby feet. You see the pink. And I'll show you what I did different on this one compared to the others. Okay, and then let me grab a razor real quick. Handy razors. But with this artwork, I had two pieces. One was the feet, and one was a diaper with the inlay. So you have, do you have that artwork for the baby? Okay, so you see the diaper and the legs, but what we did different with this one is we added a line. So I'm going to grab my original bottle. Okay. So let's look at the original. And you can see here, see I kind of had an overspray here. So there was no line here like I have here. And you can see that it was really difficult for me to separate the two colors. You can see the overspray. But here, we put the line in, and I actually think it looks better with the line kind of giving a little shape to the diaper. We have 6 pounds, 6.5 pounds. That's a lightweight baby. Add about 4 pounds, and you got my kids. You have a date here, but again, some shape on the toes. Look at the toes. I love the toes. Can you see what I did was I just held the nozzle there for just like a couple seconds on the toes and the heel, and it kind of just gave it a little bit of that shape right here on these feet. And again, you can put a name, you can put a date up here. There's so much more that you can do when it comes to these. Again, this is just a simple design. You can put a face, and I have a face here. I haven't done this, but I thought look at my stencils here for the baby. I thought, well, what if we put a baby head on this side with some hands? But one of the guys told me, with those big monster feet, look like Haas feet, you're going to have to put Haas hands up on the front. So, you know, as you can see, if I'm having 10-pounder kids, they're going to have big feet and big hands. But you can see here we have It's a Boy. That's one image. This is your original artwork that you would blast, and then you would inlay this into the diaper. And that's all I did here was the original artwork, blast the background, paint it, and then drop in the inlay. Do we have any questions so far? Everyone's good? Okay, great. So we're moving along. Let's take a look at our bottle here. Just going to hit it with the hairdryer again. Let me remove some of these pieces here. Okay, and so now I just have one color to drop in, and that's going to be my Merry Christmas. I'm going to hit this with the hairdryer. I'm kind of feeling it on the side. It feels pretty good, but I'm just going to hit it with the hairdryer. And then we're just going to go ahead and drop in our red. And here we go. And I like reusing these tapes if I can get it to stick well enough, just because the tack, a lot of the tack is already off. And so it makes a great way. Doesn't mess with my paint. And again, you can use, like, let's say you found you cut a stencil out, or I've cut out some stencils and I've used it. Works well as a protectant. And that's not sticking real well. We'll just go ahead and just use a new piece of tape. I hear all the time people say tape is so expensive. Feels like everything is right now, but I try to reuse the tape if I can. And now we'll just cover this bottom area. Just kind of protect it a little bit. And we're going to add our red now. And I'm using a 94 for the red. So MTM 94. You can't get this at Art Primo. You can get this at Spray Planet. 94, it's a great paint. I feel like it's a little more on the matte side, where the gold is glossy, a little more on the glossy side. The Belton Molotow paint's a little more on the glossy side, and this is going to be a little more on the matte side. But you can add a varnish over the top, and it'll protect, and you'll have one solid shine with using the varnish over the top layer. So we're going to use the 94. I'm going to go with my blue dot here. I'm testing this here. Actually, I see a little area that's still open. Just going to press that down. All right, and we're going to hit it with the hairdryer. Just to kind of speed that up a little bit. And it's still pretty wet, but I know I'm about an hour here. So basically you would let this dry, and then you would peel all of this away, and then that would give you the ability here to add your varnish. and then you would spray your varnish. Once this paint has to dry a little bit, then you can spray your varnish, and then you can let it dry for about an hour, 2 hours, and then clean it up. Um, what is the brand of paint pens we like? So Molotow has some paints that are really nice. However, you have to use a clear coat with them because they don't they're not in that engraved area real well. You have to use a clear coat over to protect it and put it in place. But these paints are really good. These are from Art Primo, and I believe they're a Montana brand. So they're MTM brand, MTM like the 94 spray paint, and you have to shake them. And I believe these are actually from Spray Planet. So forgive me, from Spray Planet, and these work well. Not all paint pens work well. They tend to come up when you clean them, but these ones work well. And then again, put a clear coat over it. And I showed you the clear coat I'm loving, which is the varnish. And this varnish is the clear coat that you would use um, to protect as an overspray. So you would just spray, leave the mask on, use the varnish, spray it just like I did that bottle, and once it's dry, peel it up, but you have a protectant over your paint, and you have a uniform sheen over that paint. So once that paint dries, I can put the varnish on and then clean the bottle. All right, so I'm kind of wrapping it up here. So if there's any last minute questions, bring them. But you guys have been great answering questions. So again, I'm just going to recap here. We have our varnish. This is our background painted, the varnish applied, and then you would add in your inlay design over the top. Here I did this with the baby. I can cut, it's a boy, place that over, and then blast it inside. And then I can add a different color if I wanted to. So there's a lot of options for you. As you can see here with the baby and the inlay design. But if you get that, you have your background blasted, varnish over, let it dry, then put your second design over the top. And as I have here, this paint is still it's a little tacky, so it's not ready for the varnish. But once it's fully dry, I'm going to put the varnish over it, let it dry, and then clean that bottle completely. Okay. So let me know if you want more sessions, if there's any session that you want me to touch on, something that you're looking for, particular, let us know. Put it on our YouTube channel, comment on Facebook, and I'll work on these classes to bring it to you live so you can answer questions and hopefully feel like you got a little hands-on training. But I'm going to sign off here in a few seconds if I don't have any more questions, but I think we're good. And thank you for spending an hour with me. This is Liz Haas from Resist Photomask, and thank you for joining me in our classroom. So you have a great day. Let us know if you have any other questions, and we'll get to you and answer them. But we're signing off for now.